Hello and thank you for watching. This is STSC back again with LEGO Transformers Trench. Trench here is the third and final of my G1 Insecticons, and I'd like to see him as the leader of the trio. As a robotic mosquito, he's the only flyer of the team, and I think it makes sense for the flying one to be the leader, especially in the Decepticons. Turning him around so you can get a closer look of the back end of the mosquito, you can see he's got some yellow spikes back here, and the hind two legs of the mosquito are purple to help set them apart from the black legs up front. Just like Debris, I've used a pair of Technic voodoo balls to represent the bug eyes. They're just the perfect piece for that use, so I figured I might as well use them on him as well. A quirk of Trench's transformation is that there's a little bit of a bar sticking out from the belly of the bug. In this case, I've used trans clear to kind of represent a stand. This means that there is actually something supporting his weight in the center, so it's not just the little bug legs holding him up, and it's pretty sturdy actually. For a size comparison, here we have a minifigure. Here we have Debris. And here we have Ammo. And here we have the whole team together in bug mode. I'm really happy with the variety I was able to get here. It makes for a really interesting little team, and definitely would add diversity to the G1 Insecticon lineup, which was a little bit dominated by beetles. But that's all there is to say about Trench's mosquito mode, so now it's time to transform. And here we have Trench in his robot mode. I really wasn't expecting it, but this robot mode ended up being my favorite of the 3 Insecticons I've built. There's something about him that just looks so much cooler and more evil than the other two, and it's part of why I picked him as the team leader. Funny enough, although he has my favorite robot mode, he actually has the most kibble of the team, with his bug mode head just hanging off the back of the mosquito back here on his butt, and the mosquito legs kind of hanging off as extended heels. It's not great, but it really doesn't bother me, and I think the rest of the robot mode just looks so cool that it really doesn't matter that much. Something that really sets Trench apart from his teammates is his head design. The other two both have black helmets, gray faces, and red eyes, whereas for Trench, I went for an entirely black head with some yellow crests. It helps set him apart and gives him that extra villainous look. In this mode, the long mosquito wings form some pretty cool looking shoulders. They are mounted pretty low on the torso, which is kind of awkward, but I find it's pretty easy to hide that by bending them in like this, which I think is a pretty cool look. The folded up bug legs that form his forearm kind of look like giant black gloves to me, and again, I just really love how that looks. And taking a closer look at the legs, I really enjoy the transformation I came up with here by having the two bug legs kind of fold together into the robot mode shin. I think it looks pretty cool, especially with the pop of purple here on the kneecaps. Of course, as I mentioned, it ends up with these very long heel spurs here, which almost makes it look like he has skis. I can see that definitely bugging some people, but personally, I don't think it looks that bad. For articulation, Trench's head can look left and right, as well as up and down. His shoulders are on a ball joint, which, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of mounted low, but it allows them to swing forward and back, in and out just a little bit, and to kind of fold forward onto his torso or backwards. At the elbow, there's a second outward joint to help with shoulder posing, as well as a 90-degree bend. The wrist is also able to rotate. At the hips, there's a universal joint, but unfortunately it can't really go backwards as it hits the butt kibble. But, of course, it can kick forward as well as outward. There's also this joint here in the thigh. I usually bend the leg backwards like this just to help him get a more proper stance, because I like to kind of angle the chest backwards like this. Then at the knees, there's a 90-degree bend. As an accessory, I've given Trench a gigantic hand cannon, which simply enough pegs into his fist. I think the gun really fits his vibe, and I imagine him as some kind of charismatic gunslinger. Though if he needs some extra firepower, the bug head can actually be rotated up and angled over his head as an energon siphoning cannon. For size comparison, here we have a minifigure. Here we have debris. And here we have ammo. And here are all three of the Insecticons finally together at last. I am just incredibly happy with how this trio turned out. I think all three of them look very unique and have a lot of character to them, but still work really well as a cohesive unit. They also ride that line between being interesting and looking G1. I think it's really easy to make things super simple when trying to go for a G1 look, and while that might be historically more accurate, I think it's a lot more fun to really push the limits of how much complexity you can get in there while still maintaining a G1 vibe. I think all three of these builds achieve that goal really well. And while I can identify that Ammo has my favorite bug mode or Trench has my favorite robot mode, I couldn't really pick a favorite overall out of these three. But that's all I have to say for now, so I'll see you next time.